All right, we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the first quarter 2026 State of Downtown Pittsburgh. I am Jeremy Waldrop, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, and I'm joined by a couple of colleagues who have been working hard to bring us all together. Aaron Sukanik, our Vice President of District Development, and Kate Irvin, our Senior Director of Economic Development, as well as some special guests. It's been a year already. Hopefully, you made it through snowpocalypse. But we kicked the year off in downtown on a walking tour with Mayor O'Connor and his senior staff. Basically, I would say day one to quite literally talk about how we are working together to red up our streets, from cleanliness to public safety to lighting to infrastructure and code enforcement. It was a really valuable opportunity for us to align our priorities and see conditions on the ground together. This hands-on collaboration reflects what we've always been about: a clean and safe downtown with visible services and care for public spaces. And while Snowmageddon probably delayed some of those first in line activities, we're excited about this new administration and their commitment to the basics of making our places safe. They've been working nonstop in some suboptimal conditions to date. But their commitment from public works to public safety to the outreach teams have been greatly appreciated. Organizationally, we are beginning year two of our strategic vision that focuses on our commitment to on-street services, activation, and vibrancy in what we call the public realm, and supporting long-term transformational investments here in downtown Pittsburgh. We're excited to see progress at all three of these priorities, and we hope that you'll join us about a month from today for our annual meeting, and we'll give you a few more details about that later on in the session. Today's session is going to begin with a brief update on downtown activity, introducing a new department here at the City of Pittsburgh, and lastly, we'll provide an update on some of the economic development and public realm improvements that we are leading or partnering on, and what you can expect to see in the next couple of months. Next slide, please. First, let's look at average daily visits here in downtown Pittsburgh. This slide shows average daily activity downtown across residents, employees, and visitors. And basically what we're seeing is a flat daily average, slightly lower than previous years, but also reflecting week Monday and Friday in office numbers. And we see that also in our transit ridership and parking occupancy too. These patterns really align directly with employee recovery data. And on the next slide, you'll see 2025 tracked very closely to 2024 with some modest softening late in the year. And as we discussed in the last State of Downtown, residential occupancy remains really strong at almost 94%. Since 2023, visitor activity has also remained strong, with some months being well above the same months as 2019. Our laggard continues to be the daytime employees. Fewer daily workers means fewer consistent weekday trips that traditionally support daytime uses like retail, food services, and street level activity. But this also reflects a stabilization in how downtown is moving and is used. Activity is evenly distributed across user types and days of week, underscoring the need for our work to focus on strengthening downtown as a fully diversified and resilient neighborhood. Not just a 9 to 5 employment center that we've really seen historically in our downtown. We're also working to create a place where people want to work. We've talked about that magnet versus mandate. And I'd say it's a magnet and the mandate. Downtown activity in 2025 appears normalized and resilient, with fewer spikes, but also fewer troughs. So the story isn't really decline. It's a post-recovery leveling out, which leads us to kind of a strong narrative and strong foundation to build on in 2026. This next slide looks more closely at downtown recovery relative to 2019. And what stands out is that employee presence, measured as 4 or more days in the office per week, has stabilized within kind of the post-pandemic range, with clear patterns rather than any downward trends. And while this chart might look unstable, we have found really a floor and a ceiling for what that 4+ daily activity presence looks like with respect to employee recovery. It consistently sits in this narrow band of about 52 to 58% based on 2019 for most of 2024 and leading into 2025. And that's not really a stagnation. That's probably a structural normalization of hybrid work, specifically as it relates to that 4+ days in office. So this tells us a couple of important things. Office workers are still highly responsive to both internal norms and organizational business policy signals, as well as programming and that programming is a kind of a diverse spectrum from weather to seasonal shifts to large events. We can see and track movement and how people are moving through and into downtown. Second, this really sets a foundation for growth when those signals are sustained. We've seen those daily numbers mirrored mandated office days, but employees are still here fewer than 4 days a week for the most part. So this trend could be changing, as you have all likely read. PNC has a return to work on the horizon with 5 days expected from the majority of their office workers beginning in May. And that shift from businesses like that and others will continue to drive a measurable increase in weekday employee activity, specifically in the second half of 26 when a lot of those things will align. So we think this trend line is going to move from flat to a continued growth, but we're curious your thoughts on that. For our work, this matters because consistent weekday activity and employee presence is really critical to supporting daytime food and beverage, retail and service businesses, and just an overall on-street vibrancy that we all want to experience. It reinforces why coordination with major employers alongside residential growth and business attraction, these are all really essential to strengthening downtown's long-term economic balance. And that really leads nicely into our guest. Just a little bit of housekeeping here. This is a webinar format. We're encouraging you to ask a bunch of questions. We're going to open it up at the end of the session to answer those questions. So our two guest speakers, please jot those questions into the chat and we will get to them as soon as we're over. But everybody knows that local leadership is a critical partner for downtown Pittsburgh, and specifically in the business retention and attraction realm. Newly christened Mayor O'Connor has signaled widely the importance of economic development for downtown, for the city, and for our region. And he has hired 2 seasoned professionals and created a new department inside of the city of Pittsburgh, separating real estate development and economic development. We were thrilled to hear as an organization and of this new focus on this administration. It's been something that has not specifically been called out by previous administrations, and in a role that we think could and should be filled by local government. So we're seeing a renewed focus from the Urban Redevelopment Authority in this work. They hit the ground running in the new year with some really strong initiatives and some studies that are underway to support downtown Pittsburgh. And we're very thankful and excited to welcome Steve Ray and Mary McKinney Flaherty to join us today for this discussion. I'd like to welcome Steve and Mary to the State of Downtown and kick it over to them to introduce us to themselves, a little bit about their background and what they can anticipate and what we can anticipate for their new roles. So Steve, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. And good afternoon, everyone. Really want to thank the entire team at the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership for their tireless work to continuously improve the downtown experience and for their vision in imagining where downtown needs to be for the city to be competitive for both business and resident attraction. I was thrilled to be offered the opportunity to work with Mayor O'Connor to make Pittsburgh the most business and family-friendly city in the nation. My entire career has been spent working at the intersections of how cities and regions work, how innovation drives economic growth, how talent supports thriving businesses, how university and medical research translates into new economic opportunity. I've had the chance to work in large cities like Philadelphia and with big and small cities around the country. And there's no place I'd rather be right now than in Pittsburgh. Why is that? We have all the ingredients necessary for economic success. We have world-class research universities producing talent and ideas that are the envy of regions elsewhere. We have a work ethic and grit second to none. We can build on a foundation built by innovators past and present, whether that be the endowments, institutions, and cultural excellence left by our industrial and corporate leaders, or the talented leaders of today leading organizations seeking to remake the city into a live, work, play destination. We're fortunate to have both established businesses and talented innovators who have chosen to make Pittsburgh their home base and are committed to its future success. As Jeremy said, we have a mayor committed to the success of that work and to making Pittsburgh the first and best choice for businesses, innovators, and families. That's why the mayor is making calls every week to thank business owners and leaders for investing here and to make the case for why businesses should grow or locate here. So don't be surprised when you get a call from the mayor. We've had a couple of folks who were really surprised and maybe even hung up, but we're ready to make those calls and keep that going. We have to tell the new Pittsburgh story as often as possible. And as Jeremy's mentioned, to make that work, the mayor has set out a new vision for how economic development will be led by the mayor's office. We have split the traditional economic development functions into two specific focus areas: development and redevelopment of the built environment, led by our Director of Redevelopment, Yaron Zober, and Director of Community Impact, Ricky Burgess, and focused efforts to fill those buildings, which will be filled through my role as Director of Economic Development, along with Mary McKinney-Flaherty, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, who will have a particular focus on our business districts and our small businesses across the city. That team, working along with all of our partners in the economic development world, is committed to fulfilling the mayor's vision for a safe, transparent, responsive, and effective city, ensuring that the city can be the first choice for every family and every business. So how do we see downtown in that vision? Downtown is the heart of our city and will be the centerpiece of our next chapter. We're committed to making downtown vibrant, innovative, and inclusive, a place where businesses thrive, residents feel at home, and visitors experience the best of Pittsburgh. Our strategy is forward-looking. We will position downtown as the central core of Pittsburgh's innovation districts, connected by dedicated transit to Oakland's research powerhouses, East Liberty's tech hubs, and our greater downtown innovation neighborhoods in the Strip, on the North Shore, and Station Square. The most connected innovation hub in the country will drive growth for the city, and downtown will be its beating heart. So what are some of our early ideas on business attraction for how to do that? And remember, we're only a month in, so we're still gathering intel and ideas and ready to listen to you. First, we want to help you all to activate downtown real estate. We want to work with the real estate community and other stakeholders to identify opportunities for flexible work environments, for satellite offices, and innovative firms seeking an exciting environment. We think giving folks a taste of downtown will give them a reason to do more here. Second, we want to make downtown a preferred location for startups and divisions of national firms. These companies want proximity to Pittsburgh's research universities and innovation community, and downtown will deliver that. Downtown's collaborative spaces, its networking opportunities, and direct connections to talent pipelines and communities across the city and the region keep downtown as a 100% location for business growth and expansion. Third, we're going to focus on talent retention. Downtown offers live, work, play opportunities that can help keep graduates and young professionals here. Our partnerships with our universities and the community college will keep talent flowing directly into downtown businesses. The mayor's idea to work with Point Park and others to transform the Boulevard of the Allies into a more walkable boulevard is a key part of that vision. And finally, as Jeremy mentioned, we're going to use the NFL draft this April as a national stage to showcase downtowns and the city's transformation. Innovation showcases, walking tours, and activations will highlight our strengths and signal that Pittsburgh's ready for the future. Draft is a great platform to launch the story of the new Pittsburgh. So we see downtown as more than a business district. It will be a thriving, inclusive community and a driver of our city's growth. I look forward to partnering with all of you to make that a reality and to answering your questions at the end of the program. Now, to share more about our plans for downtown as both a business and residential neighborhood, I'm pleased to hand things over to Mary McKinney-Flaherty, our Deputy Director.
Thank you so much, Steve. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be here today with all of you. Thank you to Jeremy and Kate and Aaron and Linda and everyone at the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership for all the work you do every day. we truly see ourselves as partners in bringing to fruition the strategic plan you've laid out and your vision for downtown. It is also my honor to be a member of the administration of Mayor Corey O'Connor, and help to bring to life his vision for Pittsburgh as every family's first choice, and to work alongside Steve Ray in doing that from the economic development perspective. So what I'd like to speak to specifically today is that first choice and having downtown amongst those places that people would choose as their first choice. So downtown is absolutely has been historically our business core. Jeremy shared with all of you, and you are all familiar with the statistics and the shifts in our work life. We are absolutely in support of and want to help realize the vision of at least doubling the population, the residential population of downtown in a way that is through that magnet, through creating a really magnetic environment down here. I myself am a Pittsburgh boomerang. I moved back to the city. I love living here, spent time in Chicago and DC for a while. And the excitement of what was happening here in 2010 drew me back, and I've never left. Very briefly, my work is in representing business owners as both an M&A advisor. Most recently, I was doing primarily sell side, but also buy side M&A advisory work and exit and succession planning for business owners. And before that, I worked as an attorney for several years. I'm also quite involved and supportive of our arts and culture organizations, have been a member of the board of the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust in the past, and on the board of the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, and support and are excited about many of the cultural institutions that we have in this city. In speaking through downtown as a neighborhood, we really see downtown vitality as one of our efforts in neighborhood revitalization across the city. So Steve highlighted, my focus is in particular on small businesses and really neighborhood business districts. That is all of our wonderful neighborhoods across the city, but downtown is really at the core of that. And a thriving downtown lifts every neighborhood in the city, lifts every human being living throughout all of the neighborhoods in the city, and really helps to grow this city. And growth is absolutely a core piece of what we are aiming to do here. So I want to talk through a few ways in which we in the mayor's office aim to help and support the strategic plan that the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership has laid out. This idea of the core of that safe downtown, of activation and of transformation, and really that growth in the long term. So in the first part, the details matter. I mean, we want to start with what people experience every day. I believe you saw, it was our second day in office, that the mayor, as Jeremy already referenced, was walking with the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, with our public safety and operations leadership, looking at all of the things. That is every cracked curb. That is areas where lighting is not welcoming today. I mean, it is empty storefronts. It is looking at what are the things, that small details that matter. That is taking the no longer used newspaper vessels that were around, that it's cleaning things up, and then it's really activating and making bright, welcoming. It's that feeling of walking down the street and feeling like this is a place that you want to be, that feels safe, feels welcoming, feels inclusive. So that is the details matter. Next, looking at really this empty storefronts, retail gaps that exist in downtown as part of a neighborhood systems program. So there's first filling space, having that aesthetic piece of making it feel more welcoming as a short-term goal, certainly. And then really looking at downtown as a neighborhood that has neighborhood gaps to fill. And we see ourselves in partners working with all of the organizations across the city to help work with the team at Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership and others to really make sure that we're matching needs for the long term so that we have a sustainable neighborhood developing downtown. In that neighborhood, and that's during the work day in addition to the evening, so that people want to be downtown on a Tuesday afternoon as much as they do on a Saturday evening. Third, and this is a lot about how we do business, and one of the real focuses on the first day in office, you may have seen our efforts related to permitting. So the Mayor has established new positions related to permitting, has also asked every department of the city to within 60 days come back for a plan for how they will expedite the permitting process. That matters for businesses of all size, large and small. We want to be a city that doesn't say no, but gets to yes wherever possible and does so as quickly as possible. So that's looking at improving efficiency in our processes and making the experience of working with the city a more welcoming an open one. We truly want your feedback on all of this. We want to hear your complaints, frustrations, your hopes, dreams, ideas. We truly see everyone on this call who I can't see right now, but I have a general idea of who's in the room. We see you all, every one of us in the city of Pittsburgh, as partners in this next phase of transformation and growth. And finally, then it really is partnering and aligning around this shared playbook that the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership has already laid out. This idea of the core of a downtown that is clean and safe and welcoming 24 hours a day, activating, making sure that this is an area that feels alive, is somewhere you want to be all of the days. And there are so many people doing great work throughout the city. I mean, Arts Landing is going to have the first playground in downtown and pickleball courts. And these are all the sorts of things that start to make it even more of a neighborhood and place that people want to live. And then really that transformation. And this is where Steve and I are coming in with recruitment of businesses, expansion of the business concepts that are here, and really a focus on innovation. That's technology innovation, but that's also innovations in which the ways in which we as a city do business, innovative concepts. Really looking forward to working with all of you. I'll turn it back to the team at PDP now, but truly just honored to be here, excited to be getting to work, and looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary and Steve. We really appreciate you joining us today and for your shared vision for downtown Pittsburgh. I think for us, the details do matter, and just, hitting on that, the importance of the coordinated strategy and really bringing the folks together who are on the front lines day in, day out, not just to complain to them about, wow, we wish this had happened, or why isn't this completed yet, but also to really look at structurally, what can we do to not just play defense on this, but actually play offense, and what sort of resources are needed from just basic equipment to communication to coordination that can really help us advance downtown Pittsburgh. We're very excited to work with you guys. We're very excited to see this work not just happen here in downtown Pittsburgh, but to happen in the surrounding neighborhoods. It is such an ecosystem with 80,000 students on the new University line coming into downtown Pittsburgh, and then into Oakland and points east. The integration and real vision for how this big public investment can be transformative to all the communities that it touches is super important, and the way that we can justify additional investments into our core. So thank you so much for joining us. And again, please I know some folks are already doing this. Please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be getting to those shortly. Moving along, you may have heard of this little thing that's coming into downtown Pittsburgh in just a few weeks. I guess actually the NFL draft. In fact, the local organizing committee and the NFL just released some new renderings of the transformation that we can expect in Point State Park and in the North Shore that will welcome thousands of people. It is truly a spectacle. And while we're on the front lines helping to prepare downtown for the hordes of football fanatics, we're also using this as a vehicle and a catalyst for public, private, and philanthropic investments in downtown, enhancing the visibility and the perception of the downtown Pittsburgh environs, and also driving future tourism, both locally, regionally, and nationally. This is happening because this is truly a moment. The draft will drive the local economy. Next slide, please. We've seen kind of firsthand from past cities, the local organizing committee, that includes Visit Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, P3R, city, county, and state leadership, as well as some corporate leaders, are working hard to ensure that this isn't just a blip on the radar. This is not just a weekend, but it's a continuation of the momentum that's critical to downtown Pittsburgh. Here you can see the past four cities or past three cities that have hosted the NFL draft in Kansas City, Detroit, and Green Bay, where attendance numbers were from 300,000 people to almost 800,000 people visiting over this 3-day event. Significant viewers worldwide. So this is not just something for in real life, with 55 million people anticipated to watch this, and an anticipated economic impact in the Pittsburgh region of over $200 million. So it's important for us not to just think about this again as this 3-day event. We want folks to have a good time. We want them to experience downtown and our neighborhoods and our community and realize why this is a great place to love it. We also want them to come back for additional visits. We are uniquely and strategically positioned for success. And I think this is something that if you've heard Visit Pittsburgh, we're yanking one of their slides from here, but this is coming from the local organizing committee. This strategic location that we talk a lot about in Pittsburgh from a talent attraction and business attraction effort, it's also really important when you're looking at the draft. We are uniquely positioned with 11 NFL and 35 NCAA Division I markets within driving distance of Pittsburgh. So we are connecting the East Coast and the Midwest cities, and we think that we're going to see record turnouts. As long as the weather can cooperate, it's going to be an amazing time here in downtown Pittsburgh. I'd like to now welcome Aaron Sukanik. He's going to discuss some of the work that's underway by our partners, our collaborators, and the work that we're doing that you're going to see manifest on our streets and public spaces over the next several months, and then also continuing throughout the year. So, Aaron.
Thanks, Jeremy. There is indeed a lot of work happening in our public spaces right now, both behind the scenes and out in the elements. So I'll move through those pretty quickly here, starting with the renovations at Point State Park, led by the state's Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. So this project is being delivered in time for the draft this summer, as well as the America 250 celebrations. The total investment here is $3.4 million, focused primarily on upgrading park infrastructure. So think repairing walkways, refreshing landscaping, and significant fountain enhancements, new lighting, controllers, repairs to improve safety and visitor experience. And just down Penn Ave at 8th Street is Arts Landing, our new outdoor civic space envisioned by the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust and designed by landscape architecture firm Field Operations. This $30 million project is currently under construction to be completed by the draft. This 4-acre destination will welcome residents and visitors, hosting festivals and performances, exhibiting public art, and providing opportunities for everyday recreation, including the Great Lawn and Band Shell shown here, and a garden walk trail, a kids play area, and other flexible programmable spaces. But closer to the core of downtown, we're improving upon a great civic space, one that welcomes over 3 million people per year, and that's Market Square. The single largest project that PDP is leading is this $15 million Market Square modernization, also designed by Field Operations. This project, which began last April and will be completed this April, will introduce curbless level surfaces throughout, plus new landscaping, infrastructure, and other amenities. The final product will be a civic space that's optimized for pedestrian foot traffic, events, and expanded outdoor seating. The centerpiece will be this translucent glass canopy, which will not only provide a pop of color to the square year-round, but will also serve as a functional, rainproof, sun-shaded flex space that we can purpose for outdoor seating or events. Following construction and the NFL Draft Week, we'll return to programming Market Square 250 days a year, from smaller weekly activations like the farmers markets and yoga in the square, to larger signature events like Picklesburg, Oktoberfest, and Light Up Night. And with this canopy, we'll explore new and creative uses during our coldest months. And as you've probably seen recently, construction is well underway. With the northern side of the square having already reopened in November, it is awaiting some finishing touches in springtime. But as you can see here, the level curbless pavers provide a very different, more people-first experience than the cobblestone and brick combo did before. Throughout construction, we've been committed to supporting our businesses around the square through marketing and other financial support, but no doubt everyone's excited for the new and improved square, which will absolutely look and feel fantastic just in time for spring and summer 2026 when we welcome all these visitors. And to serve these visitors coming from near and far, the new Market Square will have more than double the current square footage for outdoor dining service. The square and Market Street will go from having about 4,000 square feet to 11,000 square feet of outdoor dining. This rendering shows the layout for the Oyster House, and this one for Altavia. We've also worked with the city to have our furniture layouts pre-approved and ready for outdoor dining permits in time for the nice weather to break. And another rendering here for Emerson's on Market Street. And through our Paris to Pittsburgh program, which funds new outdoor dining furniture as well as facade renovations, we've worked closely with 13 Market Square food and beverage businesses to design layouts and provide a curated selection of furniture to choose from. This investment from PDP and the business owners will deliver downtown's newest outdoor dining district, up and ready in April. And in summer 2025, so going back a few months here, we did a sidewalk condition survey of downtown, and from that came up with this list of the highest priority issues. We've since been working with property managers and owners to financially support the repair of damaged sidewalks along downtown's most traversed streets. 15 of these projects are already completed, with another 16 sidewalk repairs to be completed by mid-April. In total, we expect to support between 30 and 40 sidewalk repair projects in the first half of this year. One such example completed this fall is this resetting of bricks and pavers in a pedestrian ramp at PPG Plaza near Market Square. So these before and after pics just give you a sense of how these small interventions can really transform someone's experience and perception of a place. And installed in spring and summer of 2025 is downtown's pedestrian wayfinding system. This has already been very well received by visitors to our downtown, but is sure to get a lot more eyes this coming spring and summer. Just an important side note here, if you happen to notice any of these signs fallen or off their brackets, please reach out to our PDP dispatch line here. It's 412-855-6903. And as a reminder, you can always call this line for assistance. So anything like cleanup requests, pressure washing, homeless outreach. And with public safety always front of mind, this winter we're also going to be installing lighting in a few important blocks downtown, including McMaster's Way, seen here on the right, alongside the Oyster House, leading into Market Square, and catenary lights in the 800 and 900 blocks of Liberty Avenue. And as a preview of things to come post-NFL draft, Smithfield Street's transformation will begin in 2026 with building-to-building street and sidewalk reconstruction on Smithfield Street in the 3 blocks between 6th Ave and Forbes Ave. This is a rendering of what the new streetscape will look like, looking down Smithfield from 6th. And another similar view here, you can see how it'll be transformed a little bit better with the wider sidewalks, custom pavers, street trees, in-ground planters, and improved lighting. Here's another one looking toward 5th on Smithfield. So this project is being led by the city's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure with funding from PennDOT. PDP was an active partner in the planning for the past 4 years, so we're very excited to work closely with our partners in the city and the businesses on the street to get this project underway. The current timeline has the project being advertised for contractor bids very soon through the PennDOT system, and then selecting contractors around early Q3 of this year, and construction likely beginning Q4. And the last rendering here I'll share, nighttime looking down Smithfield from Forbes. So when complete, this transformation of the street will set the stage for new investment on and around Smithfield. An opportunity to breathe new life into some of the street's most prominent and historic storefronts. And come April, some of the currently vacant storefronts on Smithfield will be adorned with these same renderings on the windows to really showcase this upcoming public investment. Speaking of activating vacant storefronts, by mid-April, at least 30 vacant storefronts throughout downtown will be activated with pop-up retailers engaging interior window displays or with vinyl window graphics. So this will bring some exciting new entrepreneurs and arts concepts to downtown Pittsburgh, and most of which will extend long after spring of 2026. And to share more about the strategy and the specifics around the vacant storefront activations, I'm going to hand it over to Kate Irvin, who's leading that work.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm sorry for everybody watching. The slideshow got excited as I was trying to unmute myself. So I'm going to dive a little bit into sort of the work that we've been doing leading up to the kind of 2026 storefront activations. And then I'll give you a little bit of a brief overview of some of the work that we've got underway. So the storefront activations and kind of retail support programs are not just geared at sort of the build up to the NFL draft. We have a number of programs that have been in place for quite a number of years, and in particular trying to support some of these ground floor storefront activations. So as you can see in 2024, there were about 17 new small business openings in downtown Pittsburgh, 8 of which came through with support from the PDP incentive programs. And then in 2025, we saw that jump from 17 to 24 new businesses, 9 of which came through one of the PDP support programs, in particular our downtown rent abatement program, which I'll get into a little bit more in detail in just a minute. But we can see that with these new businesses, nearly 40% of those new businesses, particularly in 2025, came through with some of these incentive programs. And that's really helping to stabilize and improve our downtown vibrancy. So as we really look over the last few years, at the net business gains and losses, this kind of business churn that we've been seeing in downtown, even pre-pandemic in 2019, we were losing more businesses than we were gaining in the Golden Triangle. That really kind of was extremely worsened through COVID in 2020, kind of continued that negative growth in 21 and 22. But really in 2023 is where we started to see that trend solidly reversing, with a nice spike in more businesses opening than closing. It was a little bit more mild in 24, but it was still in the net positive. And then 25 has seen a really strong growth. So we're really, again, sort of seeing that trend that signals stabilization and that gradual rebuilding. So each year since 2022 has been shown improving net outcomes, indicating that our closures are slowing and new business openings are really starting to outpace those losses. And so some of the programs that we've implemented in downtown Pittsburgh, one of the main ones has been our downtown rent abatement program. And this program has been open for a couple of years now. And so through this program, the PDP can provide a 50% rent subsidy for a business's first year of operation. It's capped at $2,000 a month to tenants who are committing to a multi-year lease in a downtown storefront. So this is not about sort of short-term pop-up activation. This is about folks who are making a long-term commitment to downtown. And then this program is really designed to reduce some of those upfront risks and costs and support that long-term occupancy. Due to high demand and a surge in applications at the end of 2025, the program is currently paused and not accepting new applications, but we do really hope to reopen the application period soon. So since the launch of this program, we've been able to support 13 new businesses with another 7 in the pipeline set to open really soon. And this program has been really successful. In large part, we also have been partnering with the Downtown Neighbors Alliance and really working collaboratively across our 2 organizations to support and strengthen that ground floor vibrancy. DNA helps us track new businesses, helps us find new businesses. And then through this program, we can really support and get them opening. So for example, Kita's Pet Salon came to us through DNA, and we really appreciate their partnership and their efforts and also activating the ground floor. In addition, we have some 2026 storefront activations through our kind of relaunched Project Pop-Up. And so as Aaron mentioned, this is a three-pronged storefront activation strategy designed to activate at least 30 ground floor spaces in downtown Pittsburgh ahead of the NFL draft. So one of the first pop-ups to open this new year is Conflurty, which is a small local florist on Fifth Avenue. We're so excited to welcome Ashley to be one of our pop-ups, and we hope she's able to stay long-term and that this isn't only a short-term pop-up. But at Conflurty, you can she specializes in fresh flower bouquets, flower preservation, as well as locally made goods from other small business owners. So hers is really just the first in a wave of pop-ups that we know are coming. In addition to the retail pop-ups, as Aaron mentioned, we're also partnering and working with art space interventions to activate spaces that aren't ready for retail yet. So those storefronts might have basic utilities or partial infrastructure where we can create interior window art installations that really animate those windows and improve the street presence. And then the third intervention, as Aaron kind of mentioned, on Smithfield Street and a few other spaces, really where the spaces are, they're under construction or don't have any of those kind of basic utilities or infrastructure. We will be doing some external window vinyls that kind of have a lovely kind of artistic treatment. So we're really excited to kind of unveil a number of these different interventions that should be rolling out over the next couple of months. One kind of coming soon preview is that PGH Candle will be coming soon to downtown. This will be their second location. This time with a candle making bar as well as retail. They will be located on Wood Street in the former Peter Lawrence space. And we are hopeful that they will open next month and definitely in advance of the NFL draft in April. And we have quite a few other concepts and both pop-ups and other artistic interventions underway. So stay tuned and keep following us, and we'll kind of loop you in as we cut ribbons and excitedly welcome new folks to downtown. Maybe initially for short term, but hopefully for long term action. And then additionally, I just wanted to sort of focus for our State of Downtown in the second quarter. We will be doing a much kind of deeper dive on our retail focus. So this will be kind of following the NFL draft. We'll be talking about what's open, what's activated, and kind of what's coming next. We'll also be looking at some of our retail demand patterns that emerged post kind of 2025, since we're really just starting into 2026. And we'll look at how these pop-ups have been acting as a testing ground for long-term leases, as well as implications for our landlords, our brokers, and other kind of investments in downtown retail. And with that, I'm going to turn us back over to Jeremy, who's going to talk about next steps.
Thanks, Kate and Aaron. Really appreciate your work and your strategic use of limited funding that we have here to get this work done. We're excited about the impact that these projects are going to make, and just from a next steps perspective, I'll say the first thing we want you to do is support these small businesses. It takes all of us getting in there, and while we may love flowers from Trader Joe's, that new florist on Fifth Avenue is only going to be here if we support her. So it takes all of us to kind of change our behaviors and not necessarily buy that coffee from the app, but to walk a couple of blocks and support that new coffee shop that's on Smithfield Street. These kind of efforts and intentionality are going to be critical, specifically as we kind of move through the evolution of downtown and the real need to fill the gaps that were created with kind of the post-pandemic economy. So again, thank you, Kate, for that. Additional next steps is we want your help readying up your properties. If you need support, Aaron mentioned our storefront improvement program, our facade improvement program. These programs are not new. They've been around for 17, 18 years now, and they've invested millions of dollars in partnership with private sector investment to transform over 100 facades in downtown Pittsburgh. These programs are readily available. We want to hear from you. We want to talk about problems that you are having. Maybe it's your adjacent owner is not doing their part to keep up appearances. Talk to us about that. Let us know kind of what you know and some insights there. We do have limited ability with our on-street services team. We have been hard at work trying to clear curb cuts and make sure that downtown is accessible, specifically from an ADA perspective. We've been working with PRT and DPW. We were on a call this morning with DPW talking about the next phase of snow clearing. It doesn't look like the weather is going to be super helpful from a melting perspective. So where are loading zones that are critical to business operations? Where should they be cleared? Kind of where are we prioritizing that work? If you have a specific challenge that you feel like we can help address, please do that. We also want you to bring folks into downtown. When we talk about ways in which this investment can be leveraged, it's really bringing folks together. We want you to think about hosting parties in your space or grabbing a back room at a local restaurant and hosting events that really bring people into the city and get them excited about the activity that's happening. We want you to bring potential investors and tenants into downtown. I think you've heard from the city's perspective. We have two folks that are very interested in hearing from you about ways in which they can support your work, your interest in bringing new investment into downtown Pittsburgh. They want you to let them know when a call from Mayor O'Connor would be helpful. This is not just idle chatter. This is something that's happening. We gave them a list, and the mayor's working through that list now, thanking folks for their investment and hopefully putting the finger on the scale and encouraging new investments. We want you to post what's happening in downtown Pittsburgh on your social media, in your places of worship, to your neighbors, to the folks that you encounter on the street about the good things that are happening, about the new businesses that are opening, about some great experience that you had in the cultural district. These things matter to continue to build momentum and energy here in downtown Pittsburgh. We also encourage you to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to help these efforts. I mentioned Steve and Mary are here to discuss downtown, and Pittsburgh is ready and open for business. While there aren't unlimited resources, your thoughts, insights, and input are critical to helping us leverage current investments and create more opportunities through additional investments for the support. And with that, I'm going to end with inviting you to our annual meeting. It's going to be on the afternoon of March 5th. We're going to be hosting it at 1 Oxford Center. You will be getting detailed information about that, how to register, and a little bit more about the content in the coming days. But please, we hope you'll plan to join us for that. Now I'm going to thank you for joining us and also take a look at these questions that we have coming in through the chat feature. So bear with me just a minute as I pull those up. You guys have a ton of them. First, and coming in almost an hour ago, is can we shed some light on the methodology for collecting visitor and population data, residential data? I'll turn it over to Kate to talk a little bit about the partnership and service that we use, Placer AI, and then just some of the physical counting that we do to really zero in on our residential population. So Kate, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, so with regard to our visitor data, as well as a lot of the employee data, we work with a company, we subscribe to a company called Placer AI. They utilize location tracking software. And so different apps that kind of track where you're going and where you're coming from. We're able to subscribe to an anonymized version of that data set to really sort of get real-time data on who's where, and how folks are kind of coming in and out of downtown. And then specific to our residential occupancy, we utilize a number of tools, one of which is building relationships with the property managers of downtown Pittsburgh's residential buildings, and then working directly with them to get kind of their snapshots of data of, how many units are leased by type, and by amount, so that we can really start to understand how active these buildings are and what those kind of monthly rents are looking like. And we don't just work in the Golden Triangle with that data. We're also working with property owners and managers in the greater downtown so that we can really compare the Golden Triangle to, say, the Strip District or South Shore, North Shore, and Uptown, and get an idea of the health of that kind of residential market, both in the downtown and in the greater downtown. And I would really encourage anyone who's interested to go to our data dashboard. There's also little data explanations as to where the data comes from there. And we try to update that. The bulk of it is monthly, and then some of the office residential market data is updated quarterly. And the residential market data should be updated for the last quarter, hopefully, if not at the end of this week, very, very early next week.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Next question, and I think some of this might have been addressed, but just what's happening with respect to helping businesses remain open, specifically around rent escalations or rent costs that are too high. I know Aaron touched on this with respect to our downtown rent abatement program, our facade enhancement program. We do want to hear from folks. We don't have necessarily a structured program to help with respect to rent costs, but we do want to talk to folks about what they're experiencing. And we want to advocate, if it makes sense, on behalf of you with your property owners, with the folks that are in charge of those leasing arrangements. I think bird in the hand kind of concept here. We want to really focus on retention as much as attraction. Is there plans to attract a full service grocery store? And if you've been in the Target, I would argue, and I don't know what makes something full service, but it's pretty darn close to full service. You can pretty much get everything that you need in that space. And what we've heard from them loud and clear is they wish they had a larger grocery section. I was in there on Tuesday of last week, so post storm, and it was empty. There was not a lot of food left. Certainly no fresh food there. And I think it speaks to the growth in residential population here in downtown Pittsburgh. I do think full service groceries will continue. We've seen, significant growth in the greater downtown residential market. There's been a lot of discussions about what grocery really needs in downtown with respect to parking and access and loading and all those fun things. I do think it's something specific. We have done some work really looking at the size of market that's needed. There's been a lot of conversations with the cast of characters, both locally and nationally, about grocery stores, but there's nothing here to announce yet. A question from Mary and Steve is, will the economic development team be working with Bloomberg I-Team, which is, for those of you who aren't familiar, kind of a program really working to help municipal governments innovate and create more resilient cities and spaces and places for local economy. And Mary, Steve, I don't know if you want to talk to, given both of your backgrounds, kind of working nationally on this work, kind of where you're leaning in on some best practices and who you're talking to outside of the region about ways that we can kind of tweak our strategy and see growth here in downtown and the city.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. We're taking in ideas from a lot of places. One thing, Mary mentioned the permit strategy and how we're looking at how to revamp the permits. We had some folks from Harvard Kennedy School who were here right at the beginning of the administration, who were doing benchmarking of other regions, helping us understand how other regions do this and giving us some ideas, which are being used by the mayor's team in doing the work that we think you'll be hearing from very, very soon on what's next on the permit, on permit improvements. As far as the I-Team goes, again, we're looking for ideas. The Bloomberg program has really helped cities around the country in a lot of ways. They're able to bring together cohorts, tap into the knowledge from their other I-Team coordinators. And so we look forward to working with them. Still looking at some of the details, both on who we will be hiring and how we'll use it. Mary, do you want to add anything to those?
Yeah, just so Johns Hopkins is leading with the I team a hire that will work specifically with the city of Pittsburgh. We're really looking forward to that process, but that's administered through Johns Hopkins University, another wonderful partner that we'll have the opportunity of working with on this. So the answer is yes, but we don't yet have that human being and haven't yet fully shaped out what that looks like for economic development. But it is absolutely our desire to be implementing best practices, and I-Team and Bloomberg would be one of the ways we do that.
Thank you both. Kate, there was a
And
question
if you have
here.
any great candidates, it's on the Hopkins website. And I think Dan Gilman posted it on LinkedIn. So there, if you
Awesome.
know
Yeah,
any
let's
great
get a
candidates
Pittsburgher
for
in
that
there.
role. So.
Kate, do you want to speak to our partnership with Shiftworks, and specifically how we are engaging local artists in our storefront activation efforts?
Sure, thanks. So we are working, as Jeremy said, in collaboration with Shiftworks to sort of curate a variety of local artists and pieces for both our exterior kind of artistic window vinyls as well as interior window installations. And so we are in the kind of uh, phase of receiving some artistic submissions from a variety of local artists and kind of reviewing them and starting to match concept to storefront location. In addition to that, we're working with a number of other local organizations and artists who have independently sort of reached out to us to fill some storefronts from a variety of different local organizations and arts groups. So there will be kind of a wide representation of both artists and organizations kind of being kind of getting to create unique and interesting pieces, both kind of on the interior of a storefront as well as on sort of the exterior of the storefront. So unfortunately with the external window vinyls, we can't install those until it is warm out. So fingers crossed that this cold weather doesn't last that much longer, because I know I would love to get some of this stuff out in the public realm as soon as possible. And then, in addition to that, there are quite a few other storefronts that are turnkey, and those will be filled with some wonderful local pop-up retail concepts that we're in the midst of curating that as well. So keep an eye on our socials and on our website, as we'll kind of be unveiling new concepts as they get installed and up and running.
Thanks, Kate. Another more comment than question, just related to permitting process, and just the difficulty and time consuming and costly components of trying to make an investment here in downtown Pittsburgh. I think if you're experiencing those challenges, it's something that the mayor's office wants to hear about. That is a commitment that they've made to, continue to streamline government, really build upon the infrastructure investments that have been made over the last 8 years or so in technology improvements and enhancements. But that customer experience at the end of the day is critical. As an organization that's currently going through the building permit process, it can seem quite arduous and time consuming. You get a lot of questions and then you're told to wait a couple of weeks. Those things are all important to encouraging that growth. So if you are experiencing those challenges, please reach out to us. We can connect you with the appropriate folks at the city to just explain what you're going through. There is no magic wand to this, but there are certainly connections that can be made to better understand the challenges that you're dealing with and how they can be addressed. The next question is a big pet peeve of mine. Why do we still have sidewalks in downtown that remain untouched? There are certainly some full blocks and components of blocks that have not been touched. It's super frustrating as someone who spends a lot of time walking around downtown and has, our entire team out there doing the work. That is the building owner's responsibility to address. A lot of that's passed on to the tenant. We are door knocking and encouraging folks to get out there and do the work. The police are door knocking and encouraging folks to do the work. I do not believe there's any sort of sustained city effort to begin to find those individuals. But it is something that we want you to continue to put some peer pressure on and encourage. Our team, as I mentioned, is out there doing some of this work. We're going to expand those efforts as the weather has warmed up a bit and try and deal with some of those problematic areas. But we're also sending hatefully toned messages to folks, encouraging them to do the right thing and be a good neighbor, because everybody's a pedestrian at the end of the day in downtown Pittsburgh. There's very few of us who are fortunate enough to park and walk into our office building without touching a downtown sidewalk. So I think that's really important. Aaron, I'm going to turn this next question over to you. It's talking about the importance of bringing daytime workers back into the office, and is that realistic, given what's happening with respect to technology and hybrid office work, and have we seen other cities? I know that there has been a lot of work done on this from an academic level, from a commercial real estate level, to really understand the future of office and the impact that it has on what have historically been central business districts. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we've learned from that?
I could try. I think we're still learning in a way. I think a lot of basically the short answer is that it's not going to go back to what we saw pre 2020. We know that, but it does look, and all signs point to increasing in-office presence, and some of that is directly related to younger employees having a harder time, being mentored by older employees who have been there for longer without an in-office presence, and so companies are starting to see that is becoming a real issue. And some of it is also like relative to startups. Steve, I mean, I know venture capital is in many places requiring in-office presence, not necessarily 5 days, but no longer fully remote for their portfolio companies, because they're seeing a difference in how hybrid and in-office startups are performing and growing relative to completely remote startups. So I think all of this data is still trickling in, and we are still trying to find what the new normal is, but it is doubtful that it's going to be like it was pre-2020.
Aaron, can I just add on to that a little bit? I think the work that PDP is doing to activate downtown and make it an attractive environment, both before, during, and after work is really important, because what you're able to create is something different for people, and give them the opportunity to experience the life down here. Your point about mentoring is spot on. I think there's concern amongst some firms about how junior employees are going to work, and that takes leadership from within the firm on both establishing those mentoring opportunities, but also creating the touch points during a day that makes it worth it for somebody to come in. And my point about downtown being at the center of a lot of things, the center of the transit system is really important, and that can help make it affordable for employees to come back to work. One of the things that some employees realized whenever they were doing more hybrid was they weren't paying for parking, they weren't paying for some of the transit. And so looking at some of the employer incentive programs, even for transit, becomes a really important part if you're trying to get your workers to come back. Think about how you can partner with PRT potentially to provide an affordable alternative and make downtown the most affordable choice.
Sorry. Thanks, Steve. Apologies for that. Couldn't find my unmute button. Next question. I know we are getting at time, so I'm going to roll through some of these relatively quickly, but there was a question about just the calculation of economic impact of the draft. It's probably a little bit of art, a little bit of science in there, but it really is looking at visitor spend. So how many folks are coming into the city that are unique out-of-town visitors? What are they anticipated spending? And that can be gathered in a variety of sources. There's the draft has been happening in cities for multiple years now. So there is some attendee surveys that are done to track costs of lodging and food, transportation, and retail spends. Then there's the actual event spend itself. So how much are the organizers spending on local suppliers and contractors, from venue rentals, local labor. There are secondary impacts of kind of the indirect effects, so business to business transactions that are happening, restaurants buying more supplies from a distributor or local farms. Those all kind of multiply into that overall. So, again, it's a number that's thrown out there. I think there's real intentional work to make that as accurate as possible, but it's certainly a moving target there. Next question, and maybe we can get some of these offline about the Paris of Pittsburgh program. We can put that in the chat if someone can throw details from our website about that program. We'd love to talk to folks about what that program, how it's structured, how it's financed, and the impact that it's making. We've talked a lot about the empty storefronts programs. Sorry, I'm just flipping through these quickly. Arts Landing, it will open for the draft. There will be a punch list. I am uncertain, and I don't believe, and I don't know if anybody's on here from the Cultural Trust I haven't seen. I don't think it's clear as to what it will look like post-draft from an 7-day-a-week open schedule, but I assume if it's ready to roll for daily activation, they will let it. It's a very porous space. It's very hard to kind of close that space just given the way that it's configured. But I do know that there's an intention to really have the grand opening celebration be part of the Dollar Bank Three Rivers Arts Festival in June. There are a lot of efforts underway to support our unhoused community and deal with substance abuse and use in downtown Pittsburgh. If you're seeing criminal activity, please call 911. We have very strong leadership in our Zone 2 police department. Commander Novosel and Lieutenant Monticelli are probably folks, if you look at my text chain, the folks that I text the most. I've been in a call with them yesterday, a meeting with them today. There are a lot of efforts happening at the county level with Department of Human Services and making sure that we have the right supportive services out there for individuals that are experiencing homelessness. So I would encourage you to call our dispatch line. You can call or text that number, 855-6903. If you want someone just visited, checked up on, if you see somebody sleeping rough or panhandling and you want to make sure that they're okay, please reach out to that number. There's a good chance that we know that individual and are working with them or trying to encourage them to access services, but we want to support those efforts. Questions about just reasonable hours for restaurants. I know it's a challenge. We have seen a lot of our small businesses change their hours. Maybe they're not open Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think it speaks to the importance of that foundational worker that's coming into downtown Pittsburgh. These businesses will not be open if they do not have business. So, Monday night can be relatively quiet down here. So a lot of restaurants close, and it's frustrating when you're down here and you're looking for something to eat and that special place that you wanted to go to isn't open. That's a direct reflection of demand. So I think those will continue to change. A lot of companies or small businesses may be eliminated that second shift, and they're kind of working in the middle from maybe an 11 to 7 or 12 to 8 model for their particularly front of house staff. So that's important. Question about Smithfield Street and the Mellon Square storefronts. That is a plan that is moving forward. The city is working with design team, and Steve, Mary, feel free to interject here, but that is an important priority. The city realizes this is a unique asset that they own right in the heart of the city. That building has not, or that storefront, we had space in there for a couple of years. It has not seen real investment in generations now, 30, 40 years. So it needs all new HVAC, really bringing up the building to modern day standards. And that is a key priority. I think that they have identified some funds to move forward on that and are looking forward to seeing retail in those spaces. Plan to deter incidents occurring in Market Square. Yes, that was a big meeting, not speaking out of term, but the new public safety director, Director Williams, hosted a meeting this morning where he brought together all of the city's public safety staff, so police, outreach services, both youth outreach, homeless outreach. The county was there. Some private nonprofits were there just talking about ways in which we can support teens. This is not just a downtown problem. This is a regional problem of, kids not having too much idle time and finding ways to be disruptive. This is a problem that's happening in other cities as well. But it seems like a big commitment coming from the public safety director to to uh, to really address and kind of have a strategy for how we engage our teens. Um, Flipping through here. Guys, help if there's something here that you think that we should jump in on that we have not.
Jeremy, I noticed
Yeah,
I noticed a question about existing businesses, and rest assured, we are as focused on retaining businesses in the city and even helping them to grow as much as we are on attracting new. It's clear that those are the foundation of what we've had, and we really appreciate that. And just as we're making calls to new businesses, we are making calls to existing businesses to thank them for their time here and the work that they've done.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. One interesting question is about, the lack of women's boutiques. It is a big miss for us in downtown Pittsburgh. We really were proud of the cluster that had kind of developed almost organically with 3, 4, 5 women's boutiques, and they've all gone. We could tell the stories of each of them. We know them rather intimately, but it is something that we do feel is important. I know it's important to the DNA. How do we find maybe business owners that are operating in the region that could see their second or third storefront open in downtown? What does that look like? But it does speak to the fact that, people, particularly folks that are only working 2 or 3 days in the office, what we're hearing and finding is that they're not out as much as they used to. The importance of going on a walk during lunch is just not something that they're doing because they're in a Teams meeting and they are trying to bang out that in-person meeting that they need. And so there are shifts in real behaviors that I think we still, to Aaron's point earlier, are trying to understand and what that does to local retail. We're all ears on that. If you know of a business that you think could open that second or third location in downtown, please reach out, talk to us, talk to the DNA. We're all ears. There are certainly some retail ready spaces that we know are kind of proven performers from a retail perspective, and we love to talk to folks about that. Anything else, Aaron, Kate, that you're seeing from the questions that we want to hit on? I do definitely see some things that I don't think we need to address here.
And I would just really quickly say, for those of you who are, interested in opening a retail space or kind of curious, like please reach out to me, whether that's something that you want to kind of try and test as a pop-up. We've got a variety of spaces that we could kind of explore. Or, if you're ready to open that second or third location, I can work with you on finding the right fit in downtown and then kind of talk you through the different programs that we have to help support you as you get up and running. There are a number of stores, kind of new spaces coming online. Maybe 1 or 2 boutiques, or kind of women focused retail. But I would love some new ideas and some fresh ideas in downtown. That would be great. So please, my email is in the chat, and it was also on the slides. So feel free to reach out directly.
Thanks, Kate. Aaron, anything else? There was a question about total vacant storefronts versus new.
Yeah.
I think we're tracking about 30 that we are working to.
Well,
There's probably about 50 empty. Am I misspeaking there?
yeah. Well, I'll leave this one as a teaser that, once everything is up, we are tracking to have higher than that right now. But, there is a lot of variables between property ownership and the pop-up concepts, timing and permitting and all that. So come to the next quarter, the Q2 retail highlight, and we will do a really deep dive on those activated storefronts as a percentage of the total empty storefronts.
Thanks, Aaron. All right. Well, we appreciate you all joining us today. Certainly a lot of energy kind of coming out of the draft. We will be sending this presentation and the the recording of this to everybody that had registered to attend. I know that we had almost 200 folks here today. We're down significantly at the end here, but we had over 250 folks register, so they will all be getting this. This will be on our website. We'll be pushing this out via social. So if you were just so compelled that you want to listen to this again, you can do so as much as your heart desires. Please reach out. Again, we have the dispatch line. Our email addresses, if you didn't catch them on the slide, they are on the website. We are not trying to hide from you. We want to hear from you. We want to know how we can support your business. Same for Steve and Mary. If you didn't catch their emails, email us and we will connect you guys as appropriate. So thank you for your time, for your interest and investment here in downtown Pittsburgh, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great day.